And welcome back, my happy hay balers, and welcome to episode 5 of Riverbend Springs. I really struggle to say that word. Where we're going to be crunching out a few more contracts. As you can see, there's not much in the way of lucrative jobs, apart from that wood transport one at the bottom. Is when you start looking at fertilizing or spraying, you've got to outlay some money to buy the materials, which I think they're about £2 a pop. It's expensive, especially when you add the cost of the equipment on. You only really walk away with a few £100, which is quite disappointing. But that being said, you can unload the unused equipment or materials and use them for the next contract. So I think I will pick these up. See if I can do them both with the same equipment. And let's get moving. And here we go. Probably the only redeeming quality of the spraying and fertilizing contracts is you can unload everything you haven't used and then use it for the next mission. So let's do the same for some fertilizing, get them off the list. 104,000. This probably won't even take us up to 106 by the time the expenses are incurred. But upwards is upwards, nonetheless. Let's get on with it. And there we go. That's another fertilizing contract finished. Let's get this material back to the yard, unload it, and start looking for some more contracts. Let's sling this lot in the bushes. Let's count our pennies. $106.5. Doesn't feel like we've gotten very far. But if we bring some contractors on, some workers, maybe we can get somewhere a little bit sooner. So while I pick up the stones, my worker can hoe a field. See you soon. Well, you may have noticed I did the hoeing myself. That was out of a complete lack of worthwhile contracts. So now I'm gonna go and pick up some logs. Not my favourite thing to do in the game, but needs must and all that. Hopefully by the time I finish there'll be something worthwhile waiting in the contracts list. See you soon. Well, I can complain all I like at the end of the day. Money is money, and it gets us one step closer. So thank you for that logging contract. Let's have a look, see what else is there. I think these hoeing contracts would do us nicely. Borrow the item for one and use it on the other. And then hope that something a little bit more tangible comes through pretty soon. Let's get to it. Do you know, on second thoughts, let's take one of these harvesting contracts and put a worker to see some use. It'll be £400-500, but £400-500 is better than not having £400 or £500. So let's get it on. So, all in all, not a very profitable episode. I'd like to think that we got a lot of the cheaper contracts out of the way to make room for some of the big ones. But only time will tell. Let's drop this load off and see how much we've got. And would you look at that? Some nice pricey contracts for the next episode. You ladies and gents, thanks for sticking with us throughout episode 5 and hopefully episode 6 will be a little bit more successful. See you soon.